First, let's get a view from the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, who joins us now. Let's start with Bob Geldof. What's your reaction to his accusation that the Israeli authorities have been lying about the situation in Gaza?
I disagree with that. What I'm seeing is Israel allowing humanitarian aid to go in. This has been an unbelievably difficult situation. It's been heartbreaking seeing some of the pictures, hearing those stories. And what we all want to see is this awful war coming to an end. And that will happen when those hostages are released. We need a ceasefire.
You refer to the pictures that we're seeing. Have those pictures at all led your pretty much unwavering support for Israel to waver at all?
No. War is a difficult situation. And what I see when I see Israel is a country that's trying to defend itself, mostly from Iran and a lot of its proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and I think they're in a very difficult situation. And what worries me is that the length of time that this war has been going on is making it very difficult for the people in the Palestinian territories and also for Israel. We need to bring things to an end.
Well, are you, with respect, I mean, you are unusual in political leaders in that you've lived in a country that's experienced real war. So when you say war is a difficult thing, I respect that.
It's an understatement, yes.
It's a big statement. But is that quite enough of a reaction to what we've been seeing this week, starving babies and so on? And if we can call it up again, from the Sunday Times polling this morning, it feels as though the country is moving away from Israel and its supporters because of what we're seeing.
That's very likely the case. But I'm somebody who believes in looking at what's actually happening, what are the facts, and how do we make sure we are always doing the right thing. The right thing is for there to be a ceasefire. A lot of people are suffering on both sides, but we mustn't forget how this started. On October 7th, a massacre occurred. It was an act of war. There are still people who are being held hostage, and they need to be brought home. All of this could be brought to an end, except that those territories are being run by a terrorist organisation. We cannot allow a terrorist organisation
Gaza's not exactly
to win.
being run by anybody else except the Israeli Defence Force right now, isn't it? I mean, the point is, to what extent...
If that was the case, Trevor, then the hostages would be home by now. I don't think that what we should be doing is pretending that Israel runs Gaza.
Are you saying they have no responsibility for what we're seeing?
Of course they have a responsibility to make sure that aid gets through. And I think that when we see all those pictures of the people who are starving, of the people who are suffering, it brings home just how quickly we need to end all of this. That's what we want to see. But I also know that allowing a terrorist organisation to win is not going to be safe, not just for Israel, but for the rest of the world. This is how they get incubated. And then 10, 15, 20 years' time, the rest of us suffer for it. We need to bring this sort of terrorism to an end.
All right, let's talk about some of the issues that are going to confront the country this week. Immediately, I suspect many people will be thinking about the effects of the doctors' strike. Have you got a message for the BMA this morning?
Yes, we need to bring this sort of strike action by doctors to an end. And the Conservative Party is happy to work with Labour in the national interest versus the BMA, which has become increasingly militant. We need to introduce minimum service levels. That's something that we brought in when we were in government. I did that as business secretary. Labour's scrapping that. But this is the 11th strike that we're seeing since 2023. Junior doctors have had a 28% pay rise, resident doctors, as they're called now. We need to start being realistic, living within our means.
When you say work with the government, what would that constitute?
Well, at the moment, what we see is a government that is afraid to take on the BMA. I remember when West Streeting...
Oh, they've been pretty clear with the BMA. They said that you're not going to get any more money. The Secretary of State couldn't be clearer.
But they can't negotiate. Last year, West Streeting said, well, we're going to sit around the negotiating table. We'll sort this out. The Conservatives couldn't do that. They gave away, if I may, Trevor, they gave away all of their hand. They didn't get anything in return, no reforms. And actually, what we need to look at is who suffers. The last set of strikes meant that patients died. People die when these strikes happen. It's not a joke. And I don't think that Labour know how to negotiate. We're prepared to work with them to bring in legislation.
Hang about.
We're prepared to work with them to stop this sort of
hang about. Last set of strikes under your government. They can't, strikes to doctors, train drivers and so on, that Labour can't negotiate. You couldn't negotiate your way out of any of those strikes.
We didn't give away a 28% inflation-busting pay rise. Labour
But you didn't stop the strikes.
The first thing well, neither have they, but at least we didn't pay billions for it. The strikes between 2023 and 2024 cost the NHS about £1.5 billion. That's taxpayers' money. There are people who have operations that are delayed. There are people who died. This set of strikes in 2025 is set to cost £370 million. And what we do know, Trevor, is that this government doesn't have any money. They're losing money. They're taxing people more. Everyone's suffering. And they promised that they would tread lightly. What we need to see is less of a burden on the lives of all of your viewers who just want to get on.
We started this bit of our conversation with you saying you're prepared to work with government to help end the strikes. And what you've done for the last 3 minutes is slag them off.
That's because you asked me the question. I answered your question. We're prepared to work with them, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to point out what they did wrong.
OK. All right. Look, Mr Trump's in the United Kingdom. Are you going to meet him?
No, I'm not meeting him now. I'm meeting him in September.
OK.
This is not an official visit.
OK. You're going to meet him when he comes?
In September, yes.
What do you think the Prime Minister's agenda should be? Well, let's actually take something specific. Mr Trump says we should copy his policies on immigration, deploy troops at the border, cancel offers of settlement. Do you agree with that?
Cancel what settlements?
Cancel offers of settlement to... He cancelled, I think, 10,000 offers of settlement to asylum seekers at the border.
I see.
On day one. Do you think that's the kind of action we should be taking?
Well, we have pretty robust policies. We had a deportation bill that had very, very significant measures, making sure that people who commit crimes in our country are deported if they're foreign, all foreign criminals. And if you're in the middle of an asylum claim and you commit a crime, you're immediately deported. It was, that deportation bill had very serious measures disapplying the Human Rights Act.
I'm asking you what we should do now.
Yeah, but that is what we should do now. That is what we should do now.
We should be deporting people.
We do need to. It's all too slow. And I'm not saying that things were perfect under the Conservative government, but they're getting worse under Labour.
I think you deported very many people, actually. This Labour government deported more than you did by quite a distance.
But they're talking about a different cohort of people. What we're talking about is the small boats crossings, which have increased 42% since Labour came in. That is not where the deportations are happening. They're carrying out the easy deportations, not the difficult ones. I think we need to make sure that we have a very robust migration policy.
On small boats
migration is too high
on small boats crossing, what do you think? Royal Navy in the Channel? Turn back the boat?
What we need to do is make sure that we are enforcing. We need a deterrent as well. What we had last year was the Rwanda plan, which never quite got off the ground.
Before you get to Rwanda, what about the Royal Navy?
A third country deterrent would mean that people wouldn't even be coming here in the first place because they would know that they'd be going to Rwanda.
So I asked you about the Royal Navy in the Channel. Should the Royal Navy be deployed in the Channel to turn back these boats?
The Royal Navy should do whatever it can within its remit. But if you speak to them, they will say that a lot of the things that they're being asked to do are not things that they could do.
I don't know whether to translate that as yes or no.
But because it's not a yes or no question. You're asking me for an opinion.
Either they should be deployed or they shouldn't.
No, well, people need to understand what they can do and why. And what I'm saying is that we need to make sure that people don't get here in the first place. We have a returns agreement with France. It doesn't quite work. It wouldn't matter if the Royal Navy was taking them back, if France just allowed them to come back here again, which is what we're seeing. What we need is a third country deterrent where people are processed elsewhere. That's where the Royal Navy can help and get involved.
OK, what about El Salvador? That's the other suggestion this week. Send them to El Salvador.
Why?
Why not? Third country.
Well, this is the thing. We had a very, very detailed plan for Rwanda. There are no plans at the moment for El Salvador. Just throwing countries' names out there without plans is not what we do. We make sure that we have a detailed policy and explain how we're going to do it. Right. That is not what Labour is doing. They're completely at sea. We look around the country seeing protests in places like Epping, around migrant hotels. We need to deal with this. They don't have a plan to deal with anything.
Sorry, I'm only hustling you because I think you should have the chance to say something about the unrest in Epping and elsewhere over Asylum hotels. Do you agree with your colleague Neil Hudson that that hotel should be closed immediately? And if you do, where should those men be put?
Yes, I do agree with Neil Hudson. This is something that I, as an Essex MP, have also stated. I gave an interview earlier this week where I said that. Those people who are protesting are having legitimate protests. Lots of agitators are coming and trying to whip them up, but they are explaining that what's happening in their community is not right. We saw someone from that hotel commit a crime. What we need to do is make sure that we process these applications quickly and try and make sure that we don't have so many coming here in the first place. That's why that third country deterrence is so important. You need a joined-up plan. Right. We're talking about the end of the problem rather than the beginning. Let's start with the beginning of the issue.
Just very quick.
Just how people get here in the first place.
Just very quick last question. You told the national newspaper this week that your model for economic success is the Argentine leader Javier Milei, who famously said he'd take a chainsaw to public spending and then cut it by 30% inside a year. Have you got a chainsaw?
We need to live within our means, Trevor. We've been having a long debate about welfare.
I know that, but are you going to bring out your chainsaw?
No, I wouldn't literally use a chainsaw, but it was a very, very visual story that he told about making sure that Argentina lived within its means. We're a different country, we have a different setup, but we need to start thinking about the next generation. We are borrowing our children's money to pay for today, to pay for welfare. We're paying £100 billion on dead interest. That's just not fair.
OK, it's very disappointing. I like a leader who knows power
tools.
You
like to get a chainsaw?
I like power tools. Kemi Badenoch, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Trevor.